Hello, my name is Cian Mintzwu, and I'm a lecturer at University College Cork in Ireland. And I'm very excited to share my new research forthcoming in global sustainability. This research, called the Net Effect, Negative Emissions Technologies and the Need Efficiency Trade-off, is about the question of where we should try to promote certain kinds of carbon transition technologies, in particular what we call carbon capture and storage. That's where we try to capture carbon either from the smokestacks of power plants or from the ambient air and store it or sequester it underground in geological reservoirs. In this paper, I try to tackle the question of where morally we might want to do this. And I suggest there's two different moral values that might guide our strategy and that they suggest very different kinds of practical outcomes. On the one hand, we might follow need. The moral importance of need is responding to needy places. In this case, that's the developing world, especially places in China and India, where there is A, large need for development, B, a huge amount of built fossil fuel intense infrastructure that if we assume they have to meet various Paris Agreement goals would have to be offset by negative emissions technologies. And third, places where we don't have a lot of geological understanding or capacity, oil and gas capacity. So the growth in capacity will be very large relative to current oil and gas operations. So if we were trying to respond to need, we would try to develop carbon capture and storage and other negative emissions technologies in these developing Asian countries. In contrast, we might respond to efficiency. And morally speaking, efficiency is important. We want to use our resources to try to get the most climatic benefits we can, the most increases in mitigation, the most amount of sustained reduction in carbon in the system. And if we're trying to do that, then we would want to go to places where we have the best likelihood, the best prospects of success. And my suggestion is that's broadly going to be places where oil and gas activity is already significant. So that's North America, that's the United States and Canada, that's Northern Europe, and that's places in the Middle East. In all of these places, large amounts of oil and gas activity is already occurring. We already know a lot about the geological infrastructure, and we have human resources. However, if we're doing that, we might not be responding to the needs, the developmental requirements of various regions. Instead, we would be looking top-down at how much contribution to climate change we can address. I suggest that to some significant extent, this generates a trade-off. On the one hand, we might respond to the developing places, in which case we would target these technologies, implementing them in places like developing Asia, developing India, and China. On the other hand, we might want to get the most bang for our buck, so to speak, in which case we would go places where we already have a large amount of understanding. But those places are, globally speaking, already relatively wealthy. So here we have an interesting moral trade-off, and that trade-off is what I'm drawing attention to in this paper. I hope you click through and read it, and thanks for watching.